Okay, open the meeting of May 20th. We will be going into an executive session for the following: the police chief contract, the deputy chief's contract, harbor master contract, the ADA coordinator MOA, and the co-interim town administrators MOAs, and all under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session.
Made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. O'Neill. On the motion, roll call vote. Mr. Tattelbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. We will be returning at 6:30 as close as possible. Meeting of May 20th to order. Please rise as we salute the flag, and please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we honor our servicemen, both here and abroad, and both past and present, for their service, honor, and duty. Thank you. Please be seated. Just to make note that this meeting is being recorded and available on DCTV on their YouTube channel. All members are present, so we do not need a roll call vote. It will be just yeas and nays. All right, we have no appointments, so the first new business is we were supposed to have a recognition for Mr. Gracie. Unfortunately, Mr. Gracie is in the hospital still. This is something the board has decided to give to Mr. Gracie. Let's see, for his service for 9 years on the board. I will personally bring it to Mr. Gracie, whether he be in the hospital or at his home, to make sure that he does get this. So it's difficult, I know, sometimes for his wife to get here. Depends upon, I guess, his son's schedule. So that being said, next we have the common vic license for Caliente Mexican Grill at 329 State Road. And for those of you on the board who don't know what caliente means, it means hot. Hot.
This is a new business that they weren't able to make it tonight, but
Okay.
it's a common vic license, so I thought we'd
Right.
move forward.
Yep, and this goes into the former Papagino's place. So,
Yes, yeah.
and they're getting close to opening. So, do I have a motion?
Motion to agree, vote in favor. Couldn't think of approve, yeah.
Okay, is there a second to the
My
motion?
God.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mr. O'Neill. On the motion, any questions? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Okay, next we have BJ's Wholesale Club, the alcohol license discussion. State your name, and I know you represent BJ, so that's easy enough, but you look very loyally, so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrew Upton, Liquor License Counsel for BJ's. With me is Andrew Bobola, Assistant General Manager of this store.
Okay. Okay, I believe you are here because of, I guess, the alcohol being sold in the store, the beer and the wine being sold in the store, sometimes outside the perimeter that was part of the permit, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that is more or less the issue we're discussing. We have a couple of floor plans here that shows where the alcohol is stored and sold. However, when we applied for the liquor license in 2016, we applied to permit the entire floor, specifically so alcohol could be moved. It's in these 3 aisles right now, but we specifically asked for permission in 2016 to be able to move it, so in case on Thanksgiving we could put a case of Pinot Noir over by the turkeys. If it was the summer, maybe you put some Corona over by the beach toys. But as far as I can tell, the license allows us to store and sell within the parameters of 101,000 square feet. Now, I'm not sure if we have a difference of opinion or some confusion on our part, but we're certainly glad to discuss what you think we should be doing.
The way I read it is you had a certain footprint, me, and you were within that footprint for quite a bit of time. So I was the one that was in there, and I'm the one that brought it up to the chief. So you had, if you were looking east, and you were looking at that end display, and it's a beer display. There were 3 separate beer displays. One of them is outside that area, and it said candy in the aisle, and you had a full end display of beer. It's not in the footprint. Look, I don't want to cause you guys any trouble, but as far as I read it, and the chief and I have had conversations about this for quite a while, that I don't know anything about you moving anything without our permission, number one. Number two, you've always been within that footprint, and now it's just boldly sitting out there. You've got a whole display that's outside the limit. So I don't think it should be there, that's all.
Right. Historically, the beer and wine has always been in these three.
Yeah, the sort of same three houses.
These
So
three.
one's overlapping. You normally had two, now you had you added a third. And
Right.
that's what brought it into actually overlapping your footprint.
Right. I totally understand.
I would like you to just move it, and we'll be done with it, and put it back where it was.
We're certainly glad to do that. But just to be clear, typically you would put in the description of the premises to be licensed a certain area. It is most common for hotels and supermarkets to say in whole of said building, because the product mix switches so much. So when we got permission from you in 2016, we got permission to put beer and wine in whole of said building. So I was talking to the board clerk. We did a little bit of research in our files. I think you did some research in your files. And since we were approved for in whole of said building of 101,109 square feet, I don't see any documentation that changes that. We put the beer here because it made sense to put it here, and it's been that way ever since. But we are allowed by law and by your approval to put it anywhere in the store.
But I beg to differ with you. It has not been that way forever. I go by the, every time I go to that store, and I'm a good shopper there, I love the place. I just look at it, and it always seems to be within that perimeter. And now this just jumped out at me. If you want to move it out, I'll have our town attorney look at the agreement.
Right, no, I totally understand what you're saying, and that's where we put it, that's where we've been putting it. But, and I'm not arguing that we need to do something different, but according to the approval of the liquor license that this board granted, we can put it anywhere. And
think
if there's a way to sort of let you know when we want to move it or expand it, which we have not typically. I mean, for 8.5 years, it's been in 2.5 aisles. Now it's in 3.5. If you prefer, we shrink it back to where it was. I think we're probably willing to do that. But I was just trying to figure out what's going on, and it does say in whole of said building.
I think part of the confusion might have been this. Back in 2016, when the license was approved, it was approved for the store. This is what I believe. But when whoever came at the time presented this plan to show that this is where the alcohol was going to be shown.
Sold, right.
Sold. This is where, in this area here. So there might have been a presumption that this is going to be the only area where it was going to be sold. Now, I remember probably 4 years ago, there were some displays moved to the front of the store near the registers. And there was an issue there as to whether or not those could be there. It was like you said, a seasonal thing, type of thing. And I think that was the discussion. And then at the time, the manager at the time said, okay, they would move it back to where the area was shown. So there appears to be a misconception upon both our parts as to what you can and can't do. And I have a feeling part of it is that you can display, as you said, you can display the liquor anywhere on the store, but BJ's provided us a floor plan as to where the liquor was going to be sold only when they first came before. So that may be put in the minds of the board that this is where it only should be. So I think that needs to be clarified.
All right, I could see that. I mean, typically when we do one of these, neither the board nor the ABCC would permit the language in whole of said building if they didn't want to allow in whole of said building. Alternatively, sometimes on the license where it says conditions, it might say in whole of said building, but only according to the floor plan, no adjustment of the floor plan without notice to the board, no adjustment to the floor plan or additional displays without communication with the board. But on the license under conditions, it's totally blank. It doesn't say anything at all.
Right. So I think that's where the concern and the confusion may be, where the approval is versus, what we have on a floor plan. So maybe when it comes time to do the renewal, that we have really kind of a set.
Well, I guess if it, on the renewal, if it says in whole of said building, and we think that it needs to be different, we need to write in a condition.
Correct.
Otherwise, at this point, I believe BJ's has the right to move the beer and wine wherever they want within the building.
I don't know about that.
I mean, I remember BJ's when the beer and wine was not on these 3 aisles. It was behind a fenced-in area near the front, sort of where now you have easy pickup. It used to be eyewear. It's been in different spots.
Mr. Talbot.
My understanding is this may or may not be relative, but one of the reasons why it's Shaw's, it's in a designated area because they cannot sell until a certain time on Sunday, so it's fenced off, so it's in a controlled area. I assume that we have the same restriction in BJ's on a Sunday morning. What time do you open on Sunday?
We open at 8.
Yeah, but
We can't sell
you don't
until-
sell liquor at
We
8.
can't
if
sell
you
until
don't-
10.
Okay.
And it's flagged in POS that it will not scan for a sale. So if you try to buy it at 9:30 on a Sunday, it'll say restricted at POS, and it
Okay,
will
I
not let
understand-
you
I
purchase it.
understand that.
And it's fenced off as well. We do block it.
Okay, but if you fence it, so Mr. Mickelson described the area now as just being bigger, but it's confined to a rectangle. You're not putting satellite displays around the store anywhere at this point?
No,
Just-
that's just on end caps of the set aisles.
Of that rectangle area.
Yeah.
So you have to have it controlled in a squared-off space. So it's only if someone reaches over the fence at Sunday 8 o'clock and finds a way to get it, and then they scan it, they find out you can't scan it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is fenced off. So we don't have any satellite end cap displays around the store.
No, just in that confined area, and
So,
that's it.
okay, so one of the options, and this, Mr. Mickelson's objection, is that you're taking more space than you usually have, but it's still in a squared-off area that can be secured. And the issue is, the license is up again, and maybe we address that area again as to how much space should be, but for the time being, it sounds like the language says that you can do, you could put it any way you want. You could put a beer end cap in front of the registers, but you can't, it'll be hard to square it off unless you cover that off for Sunday morning, so you're not gonna do that for that reason.
Nor have we really done
Well,
that.
that's the whole idea of this perimeter, is that you can.
To secure.
To secure the area on a Sunday, but it, again, this little, was submitted by you, this little red area in the diagram?
Yeah.
Schematic?
Yes.
So if you look at it, you'll see that little squared area that's over the rest of the display area, at the top left. You see it? Right there.
It goes this way, Stanley.
Well, I'm looking at it this way, whatever.
However, you also don't, the
It's off the top that way, though.
wine and beer will not scan Sunday morning before
Yeah, it
10
won't
a.m.
let you- it'll
It
say
doesn't
restricted.
matter where it's located, you're not going to be able to buy it.
Well,
And we, as you know from shopping at BJ's, we check receipts at the front door.
Yes.
So you would even get stopped for trying to steal it
Right.
at 9:30 in the morning.
well,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this was a confusing and complicated issue for us, so I did check with the ABCC. Obviously, it's their position that, we could put beer and wine anywhere we want, because we got 101,000 square feet. The other thing I learned from the ABCC is you cannot make changes to the application during renewal. You can't condition or change the license in any way. What I would suggest if you would consider it, is that if we leave these 3 aisles like this, we would agree if we needed or wanted to move alcohol or expand alcohol to notify the board in advance. You know, or have some type of dialogue or system talking to the clerk or the police, you know, just so we don't run into this again. I mean, as you've heard, it's been almost 8 straight years with no movement at all. And doesn't seem to be a problem. It's just that, you know, any licensee that has 101,000 square feet is not going to want to be conditioned down to 3 aisles and, you know, have their business operations constrained unnecessarily.
But that was your decision at the time, not ours.
I respectfully disagree. I mean, the language approved by you and by the ABCC and the conditions on the license say 101,000 square feet. That allows us to put it anywhere at any time.
You showed a diagram to this board, I was on the board at the time, and this is the exact spot and the exact amount of square feet that you showed us that you would use.
I mean,
That's,
you know,
and
perhaps
we
that
can
was
go back to that first meeting if we have to.
We certainly can, but there's still a conflict in the legal documents.
I think.
I mean, whether that was an error by our lawyers or your lawyers, it doesn't change the result.
At this point in time, it appears that, yes, you can put your, you can put the sales of the beer and wine anywhere in the store as you see fit because of, per the license. But I think your suggestion that if you are going to move or display any of the products under the beer and wine license, other than in this area, that you would just notify this board so that, or notify the office that this will happen, so that we can just let the, you know, the police know just in case that there is a complaint that comes through to them.
I mean, BJ's is a good citizen. You know, we're not here to argue or pick a fight. We want to work with you.
No, it's just, I think it's just, there's just some confusion, and I think what it is we're going by, you know, we're going by this, by what's seen to us via the floor plan. So, Mr. Talbot.
My own clarification, the original 2016 was 2.5 aisles, and now it's 3.5 aisles, and how long has it been 3.5 aisles?
That's a good question.
Years.
I mean,
Yeah.
I still haven't seen a document that said it was 2.5 files. I mean, Mr. Mickelson's recollection, I'm sure, is accurate, but in 2016, the approval that came from the ABCC, based on the application that was filed, said 101,000 square feet.
But that original display was 2.5 aisles, and now it's 3.5. Has it been years it's been 3.5?
Yeah.
Okay. This expansion is not brand new over the last 6 months.
Yeah, no, it's been like that for quite some time.
Thank you.
Sean, we should go back and do a little homework, try to find out.
We did. We couldn't find anything where there was a vote on that specific area.
But there was a diagram.
We found the diagram much like this, but there was no
In 2016,
votes.
I know there was.
Right, but we can't, I mean, I'm not saying there wasn't a vote, but there's nothing in the minutes that shows that there was a vote for that specific area.
And nor could we find anything in our records
I understand the rejection.
or any subsequent correspondence.
Said it too, but you didn't approve the 2.5.
No, we didn't. We didn't approve any of it.
Right.
Right.
So,
So there was no approval.
We approved the license.
We approved, right.
Yep.
We approved the license, so the
could we
question
have an
is-
agreement that it'll stay this 3.5 aisles, at least till the next application comes up again?
You can't, as he stated, we can't change the license on the renewal. They would have to give up their license, reapply for a new license to do it. For renewals, we can't do that.
Okay.
So the only thing we can do is have them notify us, as the attorney had stated, that if they intend to display beer or wine outside of this area, that they would notify us that this is their intent and for how long.
Well, I would say to you that the other is leave it as it is and don't make any changes and just keep the 3.5 aisles.
That's up to them. That's up to them, but they can move it. They can move it. It's well within the license. They can move it around. If they're going to notify us that they're gonna move it around, what's wrong with that?
I think what Andrew was saying is that we would like to preserve the option to do that. You know, if Corona came and said, you know, Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart are coming to do a presentation here, and we want to have a big display over by the cash register, you know, we'd like to have the option to do that. That being said, the amount of times this has changed in the last 8 years, you know, is absolutely minimal.
But you'd also have to secure that off display in the other area, security-wise.
right now,
Sunday
so it's
morning as
just-
well.
Right, I mean, we wouldn't want to jeopardize the license by selling to someone during the wrong hours, and the PNS wouldn't let us.
You haven't done an island display off that section ever, is that correct?
Nothing to my knowledge, no. Everything's been in that footprint.
So,
Although I believe
There was, yeah, there
Ms.
was that
Brooks
one incident.
remembers one from some years ago.
you're not gonna put an island display.
You know, it's
No, it
it's
didn't
a
make any
big,
sense for you to do that.
Yeah,
How are you gonna cordon it off in another area?
I understand that
Well, this-
we're talking about beer and wine. However, we would never tell any retailer how to position their product.
right, and if you look at the floor plan, I mean, there's 32 aisles that are all the same. If we fenced off one, we could certainly fence off one on the other side, right? They're not any different.
I'm sorry, I'm just going through the 2016, see if I can find I'm in July, and I don't see anything. Do you remember when the license was approved?
The license was applied for January 13th, 2016.
Okay,
I don't
so
have the actual hearing date.
13th?
Mr. McGinnis already checked anyway.
Right. So what would it hurt to have Anthony look into
Here it
this?
is, right here. February 22nd, 2016. School Building Authority.
Look at the appointments.
Holy cow, that's a lot of paperwork. Let's see. Applicant statement. Do I have it here? Elm Street, Ying Dynasty.
While you're looking, Mr. McDonald, as a retailer, a former retailer, I can see you have restrictions on putting off-area displays anywhere other than that rectangular section. And those restrictions are pretty heavy because you have to cordon off those areas. And it seems like you haven't done it since 2016, and why start now? So I think if we could just have an agreement to say, leave it in this rectangular area as it is with 3.5 aisles, and let's move on.
We could have that agreement, but we'd like to caveat that to say, if we decided to do another one in another area, or they changed the floor plan, or the company said an architect is going to redo the whole store, you know, we'd rather not have to come before you and the ABCC and go through a 3-month process regarding that. I mean, we're willing to keep it as is now and notify you if any changes are proposed.
All right, so the official notice said, notice is hereby given, the application has been received by Mormax Corporation, DBA BJ's Wholesale Club for a year-round wine and malt beverages packaged goods store license under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 138 at 460 State Road. The manager will be Krista Chevery. The licensed store premises consist of approximately 101,109 square feet. Those interested in providing hearings. So looking at the first license, it's a new license, and for some reason, that's a blank page. New license, premises, wine and beer, annual, the attorney. Description of the premises. In whole of said building with one main entrance, exit, additional side exits and storage located in the rear. Total square footage, 101, number of entrances, seating capacity, occupancy, premises, corporation's license structure. This is all the information as far as costs. Applicant statement, that's, and then corporate paper. There's a diagram in here, but the initial diagram,
Let me see.
there's no, the initial diagram just shows the store, doesn't show the location. And this is the problem going back 8 years worth of stuff.
Right, and
Some of
I,
the pages just don't show up.
for what it's worth, you know, having done licenses for Big Y, Trader Joe's, numerous hotels, the ABCC recommends what they call the magic words, "in whole of said building," just for that purpose. That's why this language is in there.
Right. So looking at this, basically, they can display it anywhere in the store. So I would take up your suggestion, just to say that if, other than where it is now, if you plan to move it somewhere else in the store, or have a display outside of the area that you're in, that you just let us know.
Comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd certainly be glad to do that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else on this? Is that acceptable to the board? That they let us know?
No, I want to contact Anthony. I want him to go through it.
That's well within our rights, but at least at this point in time, this is what we're getting from them. Is that okay with? Yeah,
That's
okay.
fine.
All right, thank you.
And may I also ask, we did apply for a change of hours as well, but there was some question as to whether that would be heard tonight or has to be heard at a subsequent meeting.
I believe that's a subsequent meeting, because this was only the alcohol license discussion. That's only on the agenda. There's no change. I don't have anything in the paperwork for a change of hours.
Okay. Can I just mention that we did apply for a change of hours? Right now, we sell 9 to 10,
Yeah.
and what we would like to do is close an hour earlier, but open an hour earlier. So we would sell from 8 to 9, because we don't want to sell liquor later, but people come in at 8, and sometimes they're at the cash register at 8:45 saying, why can't we do this? And state statute allows you to sell it starting at 8. We moved to 9 versus COVID, as a result of COVID, and now we'd just like to move back. for
Well, we
convenience.
can take that up when we get it, when it's on the agenda. And trust me, I understand about people coming in the store before hours and wanting to buy, because working at Market Basket part-time, people were there at 6:30 when the registers opened up at 7, wanting to get out by 6:45.
Right, and now at 8:30, we have them, you know, with their turkey and broccoli and a bottle of wine, and we can sell them 2 out of 3, and the alarm goes off. So
Okay.
just as a brief preview.
Okay, we'll take that up, and then Mr. Mickelson has asked Mr. Savastano to weigh in on it, just to get the clarification between the ABCC and whatnot, so, thank you.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have the temporary trailer permit application TP 245. My understanding is the petitioner cannot make it, but we're going to take it up anyway, whether he's here or not. So I understand that there's a trailer that's been sitting in our woods near the Shingle Island River for a long period of time, and that the gentleman has now decided to look for a 3-week permit for camping on the camper, even though he's been there, I think, probably a good 6 months, maybe even longer, not sure.
The trailer's been there over a year.
Okay, so it's been there. Yeah, please, come on up.
Is it somehow hidden? I don't know.
Permitted over a year ago?
Nope, it's not permitted. The trailer's been sitting there,
With the Shingle River.
and I've been noticing it as you coming from Reed Road to go eastbound on 195. Coming off the highway, you take a look at where the Shingle Island River is, and there's the trailer. So, I mean, it's right there in the open for everybody to see.
Which exit?
Reed Road exit.
Yeah.
I guess they call it now exit 19, used to be exit 11. But this is going eastbound to New Bedford from Reed Road, going south, north on Reed Road. Directions. So, Mr. Garrick,
Mr.
let us
Chairman.
know what,
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to give you a timeline and a little substance as to my involvement with this case. I think that Randy has some other jurisdictional.
timeline and substance away.
Okay. The applicant met with me personally sometime early in 2023 before he had procured this lot, asking about my opinion on it. And I basically warned him of numerous issues regarding use, regarding wetland issues, the possibility of zoning questions and use questions. It was reported to me in May of 2023 by someone on the Trails Committee that there was a trailer in the woods. In June of 2023, we issued 2 violation letters because bringing this trailer, a rather large trailer, it happens to be the largest trailer I think I've ever seen without taping it, they went through the woods, across DNRT property, damaging wetlands, and then parked it in the buffer zone on their property, just over the property line, and set it up in such a way that it appeared to me to have some level of permanency. And they began doing things on the parcel, Lot 9, to create yard area. We issued an enforcement order in the fall of that year, requiring them to restore the damaged wetlands on both their property and the DNRT property. We had to include DNRT in the EO because we have to charge it to the land, not to the person. But they were certainly innocent victims here. There is a deed that DNRT holds on their parcel, which allows for vehicular access across their land into the subject parcel, Lot 9. There is no easement. There is a cart path. It's a purely narrative description. Okay? My conclusion is that this lot has no frontage on Deerfield Road, which is a side road, dirt road in some segments off of Reed Road to the east. They filed an after-the-fact notice of intent with conservation. They engaged professionals to delineate the wetlands at our requirement and to prepare a plan, a restoration plan, which was well done and largely approvable. An order of conditions was issued on February 28th of 2024, so we've already now gone 6 months, basically. And in that order of conditions, we approved the plan of record for the delineation and the restoration, but we included in our condition 21 that a requirement to show proof that they comply with Chapter 375, which is the hearing tonight for the trailer and tent permit. We also required them in our condition 41C that all restoration work be completed by June 14th of 2024. Having seen the trailer permit on Viewpoint 24-5, I did make comments since I was one of the few people who knew much about what was going on out there. And I indicated concerns with the use based on wastewater disposal, water supply for the use. Board of Health subsequently commented, well, I should say the Department of Public Health, commented in the very same way. And in addition, was concerned with temporary use versus permanent use. I'll leave the building department's comments to Randy since he's here, and this is where we are today. In my opinion, the trailer does not look like it's something that's going to move in and out of that location. It's a fairly permanent fixture. I have concerns about wastewater disposal. I don't know that the access provision in the deed, the DNRT deed, considered service vehicles going in and out, which is what the applicant alleges he will do, pump out twice a week and that sort of thing. The structure looks pretty permanent to me. It's been there for over a year. I don't know how one monitors 3 weeks of use. My opinion is
Can't.
get 3 seasons, maybe 4 seasons of use intermittently. They live in Rhode Island. I know this is not a permanent residence for them, but the question that has to be asked is it a secondary residence or is it a temporary trailer tent use? That's the information that I have for you. I'm concentrating on them fixing the wetland problem, and if they have to get the trailer out because a permit is not forthcoming from the board, I want to get it out before they do the restoration, because they're going to destroy anything that they put in there. And the applicant has made some comments about economic distress, and I mean that's not a consideration necessarily for the Conservation Commission here. We need the wetlands restored, not only on his property, but on a neighboring property, DNRT, and they would like their land restored also. So if it's got to come out, it's got to come out before they start putting plants in the ground and regrading, because they're just going to destroy it. There's no way to get it in. The turning radius in the turning radii in there are just abysmal for a trailer this big. And we're talking about, Randy, what is it, 52? If it 52 feet long, I mean, this is quite a structure, you know, and so.
Construction trailers.
Any questions for me?
Well, I have a question, because I'm looking at the documentation, and the primary location is listed and the owner is listed, but the owner is different than the applicant. So is this applicant renting the property from the owner?
Who is the owner listed?
The owner is listed as George M. Thomas.
So
He sold.
The owner sold in 2023. It hasn't been updated in the assessor's
Hasn't been,
record.
and we actually, when we looked, and the reason I asked Ms. Brooks is, when we initially sent the first violation letter out, we sent it to the Thomases.
The Thomases,
And they
okay.
got back to us and say, we have sold out to, and that's how we found out who Mr. Gurra was. And we went in and we did some deed research, you know, at the registry, and found that the transfer did take place.
Is that landlocked?
Okay, so I understand why you're going after. I just didn't understand why we weren't involving the owner.
They're
That's
not the owner
They're not the
anymore.
owner, okay.
Mr.
So
Guerra
this
is the
family
owner.
is the owner, okay.
Is it landlocked? The property landlocked?
The property is landlocked. It has no direct frontage on any street. The only access provision is this deed allowance on the DNRT property, which is the land between Deerfield, and that's Lot 8.
So the question is-
The DNRT land is Lot 8.
Right.
This land is Lot 9. It abuts the lake, it abuts private, to the lake to the west, Shingle Island River, the lake, because it's the upper portion of the river. Private property to the east, the state highway corridor 195 to the north, and DNRT to the south. There is no frontage on any public or private way.
So the time frame is interesting then. So DNRT, when did they own that property, adjacent?
I can't tell you, but it preceded Mr. Guerra purchasing from the Thomases. But that deed provision in DNRT's deed appears to be the way it's written appears to be a rather ancient narrative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the way they did it back in the day.
So DNRT purchased the property, took ownership of the property, knowingly that they had an abutter that had a legal opportunity to go through their property? Is basically-
That's my
is
assumption. I
that
don't want to
what I'm
speak
listening-
for them, but
Right.
they're not arguing the point or contesting
Right,
that
right.
point, even though they are party to our enforcement order.
Correct.
They understand what happened, and
Right.
I got a clarification.
Go ahead.
So the only access, either short-term, is over the wetlands, and if he's going to do work,
it's over a cart path, which in of itself is not wetlands except for a wetland crossing, but that cart path preceded or has been there for a while, okay? So the wetlands that they impacted on DNRT land are lateral to the cart path. So where the cart path made sharp turns, they took out wetlands as they went around those curves. Once they get on their land, Lot 9, there is a large wetland area to the east, which they impacted, not necessarily with the trailer. I don't know what they did. I wasn't there when they did it. And the lake is immediately to their west.
is there going to be an issue for going forward to pass, for this, to get in and out of that property that's going to violate wetlands on a regular basis?
Well, they were going to put in an improved wetland crossing, but here again, it's an old cart path, not designed for vehicles of today. I can't answer that question. Certainly, a vehicle of the size of the trailer is not going to get in and out of there easily, but a smaller vehicle could access in or out.
Ordinarily, you'd establish access in and out before you start doing work and moving things in. That didn't happen.
That would be the common way of doing it, but you're right, it didn't happen that way.
Thank you.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
so the access on that cartway is not suitable, size, grade, in your opinion, to get emergency vehicles in and out of that lot
I would
9?
think that emergency vehicles would have some problems, and they would have to destroy both wetland and non-wetland on either side to gain access for public safety, yes. That would be my opinion.
No turnaround access for them when
There
they
is
get
no
to that shore.
turnaround access whatsoever.
But I'm looking at the permit, and it's been put on hold by yourself and Department of Public Health.
I did not put the trailer permit, I did not put it on hold, I just commented on it.
Okay.
Okay, DNRT was given the property back on May 21st, 1996, according to the Registry of Deeds. So basically, what we have here is we have an individual who is looking to permit something that's already there after the fact. Normally, I don't want to give you my opinion, but I can tell you this right now, I'm not very good with people coming after the fact. Doing something and then saying, oops, I made a mistake.
Well, it looks
Or
like there's a
saying-
lot of problems, and you're absolutely right.
There's a huge lot of problems here.
Yeah.
It's just
So
huge.
I don't see how they're going to overcome the fact, I mean, we've got fire looking at this. Fire's not going to be able to get down there. There's not an approved road.
I do believe.
Water,
I do believe
wastewater.
fire signed off on it, though. It's Randy's permit. I don't want to speak to it because I haven't concentrated on the residential or the trailer permit.
It looks like it has, except that it says the approval step, fire was assigned to Captain Pimentel.
Right.
And then there's another sign with Captain Pimentel, approved approval step. I don't know if they have, I don't read these well, but I think there has to be a cease and desist. And
How do we get him out of there?
I would ask that you,
We hear from
that, I mean,
Well,
I'm not trying to volunteer Randy here, but I think there's a
Ask him anyway.
use question here that we're driving at, and I'm not the person to answer the use questions. I'm only giving you opinions, practical opinions of what I see on the ground. I mean, I think there are some use issues that may preclude the use also.
We'd have to also go back to the Thomases. What were the conditions in which they sold this piece of property that is landlocked? How did they expect someone would, what were they thinking that someone was going to use this property for?
Fire department.
I think I'll yield to Randy.
All right, Randy?
Yes, so properties like this, people buy them sight unseen, and they think they're gonna be able to just do whatever they want, such as put trailers on them, which I do not consider based on our bylaws. A trailer is an accessory use, not a primary use. So this is almost setting precedence, where if you allow a trailer to be on an unbuildable lot, then a bunch of other people are gonna come here with unbuildable lots and wanna stick a trailer on them. And I don't believe that's what the town wants. I could be way off point with that, but, so if you read my comments in there, I talk about the zoning bylaws and where it's not allowed, it's an accessory use, right? So then, just because people approve those steps, that's just to get it to you guys. That doesn't mean that they agree with it. I approved my step, but if you read the comments, it's actually not approved. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah, I mean, if, in looking at the chain here, the fire department looked at it, they completed it.
yes.
To say that it's approved, that's hard to say.
Right.
Because we don't know if they approved it or if they disapproved it. They just completed their look. They need to add a little more substance to this, and this is something we'll discuss with them down the line. Because I do notice this, because I do get these permits through different things, and generally the fire department, complete paths go. So everybody else seems to comment on things, but the fire department doesn't seem to comment on anything.
I can tell you I have walked the site, and it would be very difficult for them to get back there, if at all.
Oh, yeah.
With any apparatus.
I mean, all you have to do is take a look at, from the highway perspective of it, and yeah. I mean, they're gonna probably end up having to have a snorkel truck from the highway to hit that. if
It's
there's
also
anything there.
when it says that the restroom rental company will empty out both camper wastewater
Are
tanks.
they gonna get
How they're
in?
gonna
But
get access to
how-
get back there.
How are they going to get down there? And they're going to go over the wetlands again and again. At every turn, this is going to be damaging.
Mark knows a lot more about this project, but the trailer it's enormous. I have no idea how they got it back there.
I don't want to kind of point the discussion in any kind of direction, but it's pretty obvious what we have to do. Pretty obvious. With that pretty obvious, is there a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to ask for a cease and desist order, deny this permit.
Motion to deny the permit made by Mrs. Brooks. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Tattlebaum?
Are any of these so-called approvals or any action that any town employee made going to get us into trouble because,
No.
are we sure of that?
Well,
They
Randy,
reviewed
what do
it.
Like I just said, just because they completed the step doesn't mean they approve it. It's just to get it going, to get it to you guys.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That would be my concern, where we did approve something, and now we're taking it back.
Well, it's not really approved. We're
Not
just
an
completing our
approval, David.
steps.
It's a completed
Yeah.
step. That's what it is. It's a completed step.
Okay.
It's not, it's not,
The answer is no.
it's like when you ask me to do a common VIX, okay? I get the common VIX, okay, I review it. It doesn't say that I'm approving it, it just says I'm completing it.
No, the answer is no.
So, right, the answer is no.
So here's the problem. So we cease and desist. The biggest problem is, how do we get that trailer out of there?
Out.
So we have to
That's
find
the
out
biggest problem.
how he got it there, and then he has to get it out, and then obviously do any repairs that the
Right,
wetlands
right.
want.
So-
Because he also has, with that trailer, there's a large deck that's made out of pallets, I believe.
Pallets? Wooden pallets?
Oh, yeah.
Like AstroTurf over top of it. Yeah.
That's not a fire hazard, is it?
So, again, I'm thinking forward, they just say, you know what, we're not interested, we're not moving it, we're done.
Then it's court time. Then it's action by him,
Yep.
daily fines, court time,
We have to be sure
Could be
that
conservation fines because
people are not-
of what he did to the
people are
wetlands?
not living in
Hey.
that at this point.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, this guy could be hit with thousands
He
of
could be
dollars
there,
of
I
fines.
don't know.
I guess we need to find that out also.
When I was last there, it was a few weeks ago, there was no one, no sign of
He's
activity.
agreed to empty
He's
the
saying
place out. Of
he's
course
there
living
3
there.
weeks a year. That's his
He's using the
plan.
facilities.
Of course.
There's someone living there.
Oh,
They're using,
maybe
maybe not every single
he's
day.
weekending it. or
Well, whatever,
something,
that's
whatever.
living there.
Yeah.
It's- He's occupying the property.
There is a deck with AstroTurf there, so, you don't have one of those without using it.
Golf balls off it.
He may not be living there every day, but someone's living there.
So, this is the first step. So now we denied it.
It's a 40-foot
Alex.
camper.
Oh, I know, well, we're going to, so, all right, so all right, so on the motion, any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous. So now we denied it. So now
Okay.
it's in your ballpark.
So you serve them, right?
Yep. So I'll issue a cease and desist,
Yep.
30 days to comply, it's got to get out, and then we'll work with Mark to make sure they do everything that he wants, and we'll go from there.
Make sure, Mark, just keep DNRT informed as to what's going on.
Is there a chance he'll come back with a plan to do all the things he should have done in the first place? Is that what may happen, or?
I think it's too late at this
No,
point,
I understand that, but that's a possibility.
I guess.
Also snow in June.
No, that's okay. I just, he may be waiting for us to make him do it, but that is a possibility. Okay.
Okay, so that's taken care of. So Randy, you might as well just stay right where you are.
Get those pallets.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. All right, so we have the Building Commissioner's Operations Update. So we just want to know, since you started, how's things going?
So they're going well. Since I started March 25th, my department has been able to issue 331 permits, 268 inspections, and about 72K in revenue. There was a huge backlog when I first started. I was able to basically unclog that and move things forward. Since then, I have been working with other departments to try to streamline and expedite our permitting process, because as you guys know, there was a lot of problems with it. I've been hearing from builders, residents, everyone. So one of the big problems was everyone was paying for their permit, the whole permit fee up front, right? So I altered that. So now it's a $50 application fee, which is non-refundable. This way, when you pay for your whole permit, you assume you're going to get it. And then when you don't get it, it creates all kinds of problems, refund issues, things like that. So this way they know $50, hey, that's it. Like if you don't get a permit, your $50 is gone. All right, so we eliminated that. So after my first week, Eric Chartrand started. He's my local inspector. He's 40 hours a week. He's doing great. We've been working together, and we're constantly evolving the permit process because there's so many different ways, so many different problems that come up, and we're just constantly working on it to make it better for everybody. Then I have a new admin that just started, Carrie Medeiros. She came over from Water Sewer. She's doing great. She's very pleasant to work with. The customers love her. She's doing a fantastic job. So also, we're in the process of reviewing applications for, I still need another electrical inspector and a part-time building inspector. So I'm working on that with HR. Internally, I've been meeting with all the department heads. We've been doing a lot of permit review meetings to try to expedite the process to get people from project design to project completion at a quicker rate, because a lot of times they've been stalled and it's been difficult for them. A lot of guys didn't want to build in Dartmouth because of this permitting problem, and we're really working on that. So in accordance with that, I'm working with the Historic Committee. They're difficult, but we're working together, and so I've been able to talk to them, and they've released a lot of their concerns to me so that I can expedite those permits as well. Like we have a lot of bylaws, like the 6-month demolition delay, which causes people a lot of heartache. So I'm trying to work with the Historic Commission to see if we can speed that up. Just because a building is 75 years old does not make it historic. It just makes it old. So I'm trying to get them to understand that. It's really difficult, but I'm working on it. I'm working with the ZBA. They're very receptive. Any problems, they call me, we talk, I go to the meetings, we discuss any issues that they have. I'm working with Christine, and we're going over the bylaws, the new ADU bylaw, which has to go to town meeting. I've been reviewing that with her, and we've been doing great, chugging along.
It's, well, I mean, for the mere fact alone that since you've been here, over 300 permits have been issued, tells me that something's being done, you know, and to create more goodness.
So
for all intents and
I'm trying to work with
purposes.
people to, like, if they come in with a project, I'm like, you can't do it that way, but if we can do it this way, you can go forward. So I try to help people, like, I'm here to help people get through the permitting process and complete their project. I'm not here to stop them. Obviously, we make sure that everything's done in accordance with all of my regulations, but I'm here to help people.
Right. And I think part of, I guess for all intents and purposes, when a permit is made, it almost kicks in the degree of help, because you'll have a builder or a contractor applying for a permit, and sometimes you just have the homeowner doing a DIY, doing it themselves. So I think there's more hand-holding on a DIY project than there is on a contractor. So I think that's where the explanations and the hand-holding needs to be a little bit better. You know, and I think one of the things that we had done in the last year and a half is that when somebody had some work to be done, and if it's well within the parameters of the setbacks, that, you know, an affidavit be given to say that this is what it is and put it on the homeowner, that that's what's going on. And that kind of created, so you don't have to, you know, so you didn't have to come up with a plot plan or a you know, surveyors, you know, spend that extra $2, $3, probably now $5,000 for anything.
Yeah, there was a form like that. I actually eliminated it immediately because it's not a real form. So the way that I approach it is that, so pools are typically the problem. So they're allowed a 10-foot setback. If they show me a plan saying their pool's going to be 15, 20 feet, you don't need that. If they say it's going to be 12, 10, I'm like, I need that stamped
Right.
by a design professional. So that's how we've been working that.
And it seems reasonable enough, because 10 to 12, especially when you come to Google View, you know, that can throw that all off.
Yeah. And then I also created a homeowner exemption affidavit form, just letting the homeowners know that if they're applying for a permit, they're assuming all responsibility of the building code. So it really just lets them know, like, you can pull the permit, but you're responsible. So it's very clear to them what they're responsible for.
Okay. All right, terrific. All right, because now board members, any questions or any comments?
Great job.
I have a question.
David?
You had a,
Sorry.
you had a backlog of probably people who were pretty frustrated. They waited too long, and they were patient, but they ran out of patience. And you had to now face them and come up with a plan. And I assume there was a certain amount of belligerence or frustration on their part, and I'd just be curious how you handled it and how you decided on, were there a lot of issues with having to really have to look over a project and really be careful because it had been sitting that long, and how do you rule on that? I just would like to hear what you had to say about it.
So any of those permits that were sitting for a long time, I would reach out to the homeowner, whoever it was, and I would issue the permit immediately, because legally I can't hold it up. 30 days is approval if you don't deny it. So then I would go through the project with them, and as problems came up, we would work together to solve it. But at least they could move with their project.
So because it went beyond the time, you had to approve it, but then did it go back in and make sure that it does fit the...
Yeah, we can catch up with anything. That's why I said, that's why when people complain about the permit going out, my permit has to go out, but I will catch up on things that you need.
So you had no choice, you had to approve it because the length was too long.
Yeah, anything over 30 days is automatically approved.
Randy, are there any specific things that you find right now that are glaring that you can't handle within the department, that you need the select board or the administration to help you make some changes on? Anything that jumps out?
Not yet. I'm still familiarizing myself with the bylaws. There's a lot there, and there's a lot of different ways you can interpret them. One of the ones I was looking at today was expansion of non-conforming structures as far as going vertical. So to me, you're not increasing the footprint, you're staying within, so that's an allowed use. But then the way I'm reading the bylaw is that if you go up, it has to be set back to the actual setbacks of the current zoning you're in. So I'm going to reach out to Savastano for clarification on that, to make sure I'm telling the people that they're going the right way.
You want a lesson in going up and problems with height, go to Arch Street.
Well, it's not a height problem, it's just they're 23 feet instead of 30 feet for 25 feet from the setbacks.
Because I believe the town is set at 35 feet.
35, yeah. Yeah.
Just a note from me personally, anyway, if you do come across
But
anything
it's a
that
lesson.
you need help with, let us know.
Absolutely, thank you, I appreciate it.
Keep that level of communication really high with, especially with the administration and the select board, because we've, I think, all listened to some of the issues that you've been able to get through over the last month or so, and we know how difficult that must have been. But we
can be.
appreciate the work that you've done.
You can get a lot done with a smile and a handshake, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a second question. You changed the rule on the $50 deposit, and this board had a lengthy discussion over a couple different meetings about that issue. And I'm not doubting that, I think it was a good idea, but I think that kind of change, which is, I would call that fairly significant, that I think we need to know that was a change so that we can, because we were faced with that issue and it got a heated debate.
So it doesn't change the cost of the permit in any way, it's just you don't
I
pay for the
understand.
whole thing up front. So the money's still going to come in, so the steps go, it's $50 permit fee, and then it goes through everything. Then before the permit is ready to issue, you pay the remainder of your permit fee, then the permit automatically issues.
I'm not disagreeing with the change, but I think that's something that we should know about because we were knee-deep into that. So is there a way that, I don't know if you consider that a significant change or not, but from our perspective, at least my perspective, it's pretty big because I think it's a big improvement. So is there a way to let us know, or?
Oh, absolutely, I was just trying to expedite and.
I understand.
Straighten things
I'm
out.
not doubting you. I'm glad you did it. And I assume you did it within the rights to make that decision within the building department. But I think that's something, do you feel that's a significant change?
No, because it's not altering the fees in any way. All it's doing is just collecting $50 up front.
Yeah,
So if
so
their permit doesn't get issued.
I don't know
you'd
how
have
to
deal with a refund.
differentiate significant versus insignificant, but it's something, I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but I think that kind of change, I think we need to know about. And
I'll pipe in on that, David. I've had an issue with this with the DPW. When there are changes to the construction standard with the DPW, they approve it at the board. We just had one recently that was done in 7 days. And I think it might be a violation of our own bylaw, or at least the charter, where a change is made. What I wouldn't want you to do is make changes in the field and get yourself in, a heated discussion with a proponent. When it comes to changes to the construction standard on that side, on the DPW side, I had trouble with that because I think currently you need 10 days. You basically discuss the change, the board approves it, it goes to the town clerk, and if it stays there for 10 days and nobody complains about it, it becomes law of the land. My issue with that is that if you don't know the changes being made, where are the stakeholders? Where are the developers? Where are the homeowners, the property owners? Do they know these changes are coming, I guess, is maybe in the same vein that you're talking about, David.
I don't want to make any trouble, but I'm glad you made the change. But my point is that I think we need to know that, and you don't have a history with us to know what's more important than us. But that was a big issue for us, and I think it sounds like a great improvement.
I think what Dave's trying to say is he doesn't want you to make an arbitrary decision.
No, I'm not. I assume that you can.
Right.
And-
But let us know you're doing it.
Well, but he's making a lot of different changes. Heidi's going to say something.
So what I was going to tell you is I was not on the board when if the board weighed in on, getting the full payment. What I do know is I heard from a number of homeowners or folks to do rehabs or fresh bills who were concerned because it was paid for the entire permit and it said non-refundable, and they had concerns, and I spoke out about that. So I'm thrilled that it's a $50 deposit, and then we'll get our.
Me too.
That's a good move.
But I do know that was an issue. And what I'm also going to say is that before you started, when we were in a transition period, we talked about the need to give you time to get to know Dartmouth and the job, and then to have you meet with folks that are using the permit process to hear what the problems are. Then we thought we also needed to organize for you a group to talk to the various department heads about the permitting process, because we also had heard that there were some snags in that permitting process, and to meet with you to find out how else we can support you. And it looks like you're doing all of those things, and I applaud that, without us having to get a formal sit-down of anything. So that's great initiative on your part, and you see a problem and you're solving it. And that's especially important with cooperating with the other department heads, because this permitting process, as you said, historic, DPW, I think the only people that aren't involved are probably Parks and Rec. But, you know, there's a lot of departments.
Just to wrap up on my thought was, input is important, obviously, from all departments, and there are a lot of things that we just don't need. You don't need our input on. So, you know, but it becomes ambiguous sometimes, and if it becomes glaring to you, if you think that, you know what, this is a pretty significant change, we should probably get some stakeholders involved and see what they think about it, see what happens in the field. I'd just like the opportunity to know about those ahead
No
of
problem.
time.
I didn't think it was significant enough because the money would still come in, and if it was, I apologize for that.
No, I get it.
I wasn't trying to overstep my
That's why you're
bounds.
here today.
I think we're all thrilled that you did do it.
I think it was right.
At the end of the day.
Basically, the new structure of collecting the fees is the old structure, because that's the way it was done before a couple years ago, that it was a permit fee, and then you paid the fee once it got approved, and then that changed with the previous building inspector where everything was up front. So now we're back to the way it used to be.
I might make a suggestion then, because the last thing I want to do is put the wraps on you but maybe you come to see us again in 3 or 4 weeks, tell us what's going on, and maybe as you get more and more involved, in case there's things we need to know, and then we can maybe start the process of getting other boards or.
3 to 4 weeks, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I would
The way he's going, it's a freight train going.
Well,
but
yeah, I know.
Whatever the
But I
multiple
think,
is.
I think in 3 to 4 weeks, everything is going to, I think maybe 3 to 4 months, you know, just to see.
Maybe a
about-
quarterly,
you know,
maybe
'cause he
just a
still needs-
quarterly
yeah,
update.
quarterly.
It might be helpful
Yeah,
to
that's a good idea.
Randy, too.
You know, I mean, you know.
I didn't hear,
Maybe a quarterly update. I think that would be helpful to him, to Randy, too.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because we know that we know we've had issues in the last time. We know it's going to take time to fix.
we did
But
make.
so far, it looks like what we think is going to take a longer time to fix is actually much better than what it was. So I
Well,
can
in
tell
my
you this.
position, I make decisions
Yeah, I
and
can
get
tell you
things
this.
done.
I can tell you this, Randy, I'm happy. I don't want to micromanage what you guys do.
Thank you.
So you're not going to get that from me, but I'm happy with what you've done, so.
We do
you.
have a commitment we made in this public meeting to gather
Mm-hmm.
people involved, to let them have something to say, and let Randy listen and make his own judgments on it.
I'm
So
sure
I
he's
think-
already heard from some of those.
I have heard from some.
No, I mean, that's a good question. Have you had any kind of organized meeting with any particular either proponents?
No, generally, it's just a permit by permit issue.
Okay.
If someone has an issue,
All
they
right.
come in and talk to me, we resolve it, and we move on. I haven't had anyone say that this is like a huge problem.
Yeah.
And like, this needs to be fixed right now. Like, we talk about any issue that comes up, and we move forward.
Because
And
it
it's a
sounds like
constantly evolving.
you're the guy that they wanted to talk to, David, right? That, you know, the way that you approach things is going to be very effective for groups that were not too happy about the process.
But on the other hand, we did make a commitment to that, to
Right.
some process of some
Yeah.
kind.
I'm willing to listen, absolutely.
Yeah,
And at
maybe
the end of
we
the
can
day,
put
we'll make our own
something together.
decisions, and
Purposes, all good things
Listening
come to
session.
those who wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, so.
Yeah, yeah, good job.
Great, thank you, Randy.
all right, thanks.
Keep up the good work.
Okay, next we have
See him pull that trailer.
CERTA assessment update. Vitale, and I think Eric Russo's here.
Good evening. Thank you very much, everybody, for having me tonight. Would you like me to set the stage for us?
Please.
All right. So I will try to keep it concise and brief for you. So, as you may know, regional transit authorities are established in a way that actually sits us much next to cities and towns. So we are often subject to some of the same laws that the cities and towns are, one of which happens to be the 1980 Prop 2.5% law. So when we were established, there was a funding mechanism put into the law, and the Prop 2.5% superseding law governed what the authorities could do henceforth with cities and towns when they're providing service, with the one exception of new service. So over the last 13 years while I've been here, I've had the opportunity to work with advocates and communities about the issue of the lack of Sunday service in our region. Sunday service is desperately needed. It is bus transportation is a utility. It is something that is infrastructure in our communities. It is just like the city's roads. It's just like the lights that we turn on. We don't roll up the roads on a Saturday night and roll them back out on Monday morning. So right now we have an equity issue when we don't have something like Sunday service to be able to connect our communities. I can't tell you how many businesses I've gone into over the past 13 years and had a manager pull me aside and say, you know, on Sundays, I've got an employee here that's paying $25 round trip for a cab fare or now an Uber fare. You know, is there anything that's coming down the line? And over the last 13 years, the advocates really did come through, and they were able to put in place a new funding mechanism that allows for the legislature to allocate additional funding to the regional transit authorities in order to provide this Sunday service that we have today. So we've been piloting Sunday service since January 28th. We have seen it grow steadily over that time. We are proud to say that 2 Sundays ago now, we had our first Sunday where we had 4,150 passenger trips provided. Wow. That is actually more trips than we actually provided in the fall on a Saturday. Our service has been exploding, and it's really a testament to the need that has always been there. We knew what we were doing when we put out the service. We mirrored exactly what we do on Saturdays, and people have adapted to it quickly. The first day that it rolled out, I was to the Fall River Terminal, and I was there when the bus that came in from Amazon dropped off 10 people at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they were laughing and talking about how great it was that they weren't paying for their Uber ride on the way home that day. So I did start this off by talking about the Prop 2.5% issue. So I think you've been provided a breakdown that we've put together. And to help frame these issues, what we did is we took the FY23 service that we provided and broke down the costs for the entire year by community so that you could see as a percentage of the budget how much each community is benefiting from the service that we are the authority are providing. And along with that, how much of the current local assessment goes to support that service. Dartmouth has been wildly successful in being a center of economic development over the last 50 years now that the authority has been in existence. And through no fault of anybody here, through no fault of any leadership at all, time has just worn on, and over 50 years of being governed by the funding mechanisms that existed, we've gotten to a place where the local assessment only covers 7.7% of the service cost that's delivered to the town. So when we are moving forward to talking about potentially having permanent Sunday service, we're proposing an increase of, which may seem considerable in context to what has been paid for the last 50 years. But again, it really has everything to do with time and just the way that 2.5% has governed what the community would be asked to pay. So what we're looking at here is almost a 13% increase when you add a full new day of service to our budget. And the communities are asked to pay 50% of that cost of that service. So we have breakdowns here that lay all that out. Another issue with local assessments that can be very confusing for people that are new to transit authorities is that for the transit authority, when we operate in fiscal 24 and we close our books on June 30th, we go through an audit period. We report out to the state what we did. We report up to the Department of Revenue what the assessments will be. So for fiscal 24, we report assessments to DOR in approximately December of calendar year 24. They use those numbers for the FY26 cherry sheets. And that's where you see the impact as a community. There's a 2-year lag from when I close books to when the communities start to pay or start to see that reduction in aid from the Commonwealth on their cherry sheet. So the good news is that when that happens, is that the service that is being provided is in place for 2 years. The community is benefiting for that for 2 years before they even start to see any sort of change as it relates to the transit authority. That means we continue to feed and serve the Stop and Shops, the Shaws, the mall, all the small restaurants. We're there in the morning. We're there not as late as I'd like. I'll work on that part later. But the service that we're providing on Sundays has absolutely been knocking it out of the park in a way that even is blowing my mind. For us to be able to say that we're doing exactly what we did on a Saturday in the fall, on a Sunday 6 months later, is pretty amazing.
So bottom line is, you're looking for an additional 115,000, just under 116,000 for that.
That's correct. That's what the assessment would be to the town.
115,907, I think, right?
And that won't hit the town's cherry sheet until actually fiscal 27.
Has this been budgeted?
We haven't, but we're not hitting FY27 yet.
Oh, okay, all right, so it's, all right, so.
How many, are you offering Sunday service on all of the routes that serve Dartmouth?
That's correct, yes. So we're mirroring what we provide on Saturday, which is a reduced offering from what we do on the weekdays. Weekdays, we have a longer span of service. We have some routes with more frequency. And we also, we move almost 10,000 people a day during the week. So it is dramatically different, but a lot of that has to do with service availability.
Gentlemen.
Do you have some routes that are, you got to kind of keep them in place, but they really are considerably less and almost impractical, but you need to keep them because it gives you a complete assortment in the area? Is that a fair question?
So I would answer that question by saying that we review our system every 3 to 5 years. We actually just completed a comprehensive service assessment that looked at both from a very specific point of view of the area centered in Fall River and the area centered in New Bedford. Dartmouth is falling into the Metro New Bedford area, obviously. And so we are looking wherever we can to make some tweaks to improve efficiencies if possible. But there are also other considerations in EJ communities where you may not be able to reduce service if you feel like it's underperforming because you are providing service to a protected population.
You don't make a lot of major changes. You try to tweak it because that's really the real option? Is that?
That's correct. And from a practical standpoint, many of the bus routes that exist today are on top of the trolley bed lines that have been paved over 100 times over, because that's where the businesses developed as time went on.
Thank you.
So we have one route in South Dartmouth that goes up Dartmouth Street to the library.
Yes.
And ends there. And then we have another route that goes through Cross Road to the college.
That's correct. Well, close. So the route that goes on Cross Road actually loops back down to the mall and then comes back to downtown. So it goes up to Hawthorne Medical, comes across Cross Road, picks up in the corner by Walmart, and then comes back across heading east again.
So it doesn't actually go to the campus?
That route does not. The intercity connecting route, which is actually our busiest route, does go to the campus, and it serves the campus probably close to 45 times a day, maybe 50 times a day.
Yeah.
50? I don't remember exactly how many times, but it's pretty close to 50 times a day.
And that's the primary service that the college students use to get to off-site other campuses. That's what they would have taken to get downtown.
Yes.
When they went downtown.
I would say the abbreviated answer is that yes, but there's a much longer back history with that question.
Yes. But we have basically 3 routes in Dartmouth.
There are 3 fixed routes in Dartmouth, yes, and we also do provide ADA paratransit service, which is a van service available to anybody who is ADA eligible. We come to your house, take you to your appointments, take you to your shopping, and that's required by ADA. Wherever there's a fixed route, we must serve within a 3/4-mile corridor. However, the advisory board of SRTA has always taken the position that we will serve every square inch of all 10 communities for those with the greatest need.
Just a point of interest, is there a charge for the, a fee for the bus service?
So there, currently, we are in a suspended fare period. It is a temporary pilot as well that the legislature has funded using some of the new resources available to them. But our typical fare is $1.50 cash fare. That $1.50 will get you one free transfer, and we have many discounted pass products for multi-trip use if somebody so desires.
But at this point, there's no charge.
For the period of January 1st to June 30th right now, there is no charge. One of the 3 budgets does include the potential to continue a fare-free environment for all of the RTAs if it does make it out of conference committee.
How did ridership compare this year to last year with the free fares?
We're doing quite well. Actually, overall, the authority has really been booming. We are now the 3rd highest provider of trips in the Commonwealth behind the Pioneer Valley Transit Authority, which serves Springfield, Holyoke, Chicopee, Northampton, and Amherst, and then behind Worcester. So we are going to be approaching about 2.6 million this year, we believe. Could be 2.7.
So one other thing, just to clarify, so this Sunday service, the additional cost to run this would be another $115,907?
That would be the share for the town of Dartmouth.
In 2027?
Correct.
Correct, okay.
Okay. So do we need to?
We don't vote.
We need to approve, we need to make them, we need to either approve or,
Even though it's
Not approved.
3 years out?
yeah? That's the effect of this stuff.
Chris has some
Motion to
information.
approve.
Wait, Stanley, Chris has some
Approve
information.
what?
The assessment for,
Oh, sorry.
off the cherry sheet.
Chris?
Chris Vitale, Assistant Town Administrator. So this is still a draft budget, so I'm the designee. I sit on the SRTA Advisory Board and the subcommittee meetings. So they're still reviewing this, but I felt it was important just because it is a service change. It is something that is going to impact our cherry sheet in a couple years, that we get the input. So
Until the budget is approved,
yeah, so I would be making the vote at the meeting essentially on behalf of the town, the board. But if you want to make a recommendation that I can take back when we do have those discussions.
so instead of having the approval, then it would be a motion to make the recommendation that Chris Vitale,
Handles the
Yeah,
recommended
to-
increase.
Do we want to put a number on that?
that the board agrees with.
Up to?
We don't know.
Up to? We give them some authority up to a certain amount?
No, just the,
You don't want to give them a blank check, is that what you're saying?
well, you know,
So 120? Up to 120?
What do you think, Chris?
Can I clarify? So this is the number. It wouldn't be,
It is.
this is the number for Sunday service, and that's the service that we're discussing right now. So
So the recommendation would be, so Chris Vitale to take care of the, our responsibilities, financial responsibilities, for 115,907.41.
so the motion would be to,
Give Chris the authority.
To give
To-
Chris the authority.
wait a minute.
Sunday service.
The motion would be that the select board agrees with CERTA with the additional Sunday service and recommends that our representative convey that to the board. That would be the motion.
Okay? That's the motion.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Miss Brooks, sorry.
That's all right.
Apologize.
It's a low voice.
On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, none unanimous. Okay, terrific.
thank you very much for your time this evening.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Keep those free seats open.
Okay, next we have is the Dias Landing Fixed Pier Extension and Floating Docks.
No.
Southeastern Mass.
Oops, all right, we're pressing.
115,000.
Oh, yeah, the SMMPO. All right, so we have, the Metropolitan Planning Organization is looking for a representative for this.
these people.
Or letters of interest to be a representative.
Right, so we're looking for letters of interest to see, it could be anybody,
No, select board members.
select board member or their representative.
No, I think it actually needs to be a select. board
Okay,
member.
well, I did this, and I don't want
I
to do
think
it
you should
anymore.
do it again.
No, I don't. I don't have the time during the day to do this.
But it looks like Dartmouth only comes up so many years. It's a rotation.
Yeah, right now,
It's Somerset, Mansfield, Carver, and Wareham.
yeah,
So now it'll be our turn.
yeah,
There's
it's,
four.
well, I mean, it's basically whoever wants to do it. It doesn't necessarily, towns don't necessarily take a turn, because Alan Slavin's been on for quite a while.
Oh.
So he's been on for, as far as I know, at least 10 years,
Chris do it.
or as long as he's been a
I can't do
selectman.
it. I got too many other
Can you?
things.
How about Chris?
Well, let's put it this way. We don't have to appoint somebody for it. It was, if you're interested in being a member of this, you can submit your own nomination and leave it at that. Okay? Next item on the agenda is the Dias Landing.
Chris Vitale is here.
Chris. Okay. That's where we are.
Hello again. So this project has been several years in the making, but we are at the point where we have put the Dice Landing expansion out to bid. We received 8 qualified bids, and our consultant engineers have reviewed them, and they're recommending AGM Marine Contractors, Inc. With that award. So the bid amount came in at $899,780. So the town has funding through SEC, Seaport Economic Council, as well as CPC to fund the project, and we're very pleased to share that it is under budget. So that does allow us a little extra funding should something come up where we need to make adjustments along the way. But overall, we were very pleased with the responses that we got back, and really what we're looking for tonight is authorization to execute a contract.
Okay. Board member have any questions?
Chris,
Mr. O'Neill?
this process was always pretty confusing to me, even on the planning board. This is for the new dock, correct? Basically, the water side.
That's right, yes.
Right? Okay, and we do have right now a master plan. Are we applying for a grant for a master plan for that peninsula right now? Where are we in that process?
Yeah, so we have some funding currently through the Seaport Economic Council, and we currently have an application pending for town meeting for that remaining piece, I believe. So with that, both the proposed or activities that are currently in the queue, as well as activities that we would look to do long-term through strategy sessions, all that would be incorporated into that master plan document. So, while we are underway with this project, or we would soon be underway with this project, we would factor that in so that we're all working off that same play sheet going forward.
So how much is the Seaport Council putting in?
For the grants, so I believe it's 900,000 that we have through Seaport Economic Council, and I believe it's 200 through CPC or 250. It's give or take.
And we're looking at $899,780, right?
That's correct. And so what this doesn't include is there is an additional fee associated with construction administration, so making sure that we have oversight at the project, and then contingency as well. We'd want to make sure we build in just in case something comes up. So, we expect to stay within that budgeted amount. And
who will be in charge of the oversight?
So I'm working with our harbor master right now. So in terms of oversight of the billing, the grant administration, I'm working with them on that. And then when it comes time, it'll be the harbor master on site communicating with FOF who has been working with us on developing the scope of work and the bid specifications to make sure that it's done properly. And so we get billed monthly with project updates, how far are they along in the process. And as part of the documentation that AGM submitted to us, there's a timeline associated. So we'll make sure, based on that timeline, that they stay on schedule and make sure that we have it completed within the grant timeframe.
Mr. Tattelbaum?
Could you comment on the position support of Waterways and the Harbor Master on the project, as it's written here?
Absolutely. So they've been really, as part of this project from the very beginning, it's something that's identified in the Payne Aram Harbor Management Plan. They've been part of the meetings with the development of the scope of work, attending the pre-bid meetings, talking with contractors, answering questions, and communicating through the consultant engineers. So this is something that they, from what they've shared with me, are very excited that it's to this point.
And as far as the contractor, they give this their full support?
So I have no indication or documentation otherwise. I know that this recommendation has been brought to our Waterways Board, and the recommendation has been made through FOF before it's gotten to us. So
Would it be unreasonable to get something in writing from the chair of the Waterways that they, their position on this project?
You can ask.
happy to do so.
Well, I would, the project needs to move forward. The Waterways has been involved all along.
I'm not looking to stop it.
There's been no pushback or questioning from Waterways or the Harbor Master. So I mean, you can. I'm not sure it's necessary for this project.
Okay?
I mean, no pushback from their side, but, I recall the pushback being that we needed some more information from the planning board on exactly how the land side of this was going to dovetail with the water side. So it was a concern then, it's still a concern, but, I understand we're under a time frame with this thing. And I guess through the master plan for that whole peninsula, we'll have a chance to review exactly what that area will look like. And I would hope incorporate all of the boards in the town on a project this size and make sure that all the stakeholders get a chance to review all of the plans, get their 2 cents added, make some changes, and get more eyes on it. So,
A whole bunch of them.
so it's not.
I understand, Sean, your reservation and holding back the project. I'm not going to do that, but I think we got Park Board, we got Waterways, we have the Harbor Master, we have the Select Board, and Planning Board in this project. For the short term.
And DPW.
Thank you. The short term, this design of the docks and the floats, but how's that going to affect the entire project? And I think there's a coordinated effort we need to make sure we do.
Well, this is the beginning of this project. This is not the final.
It's not the final.
But it
This is a good
is going to
beginning.
be the construction of these floating docks and the addition. So, I mean, my question, though, is the construction supervisor. In the past, when we've built anything else, it's been a company that we've hired to be the person that looks out for Dartmouth. And on top of the harbor master's role already, I don't know that construction supervisor is.
So we have a firm that would be handling construction administration. With regards to the point of contact, with regards to billing, I guess communicating with the various boards, stakeholders involved, that would be Steve. Our office, we'd work with Steve on that. But the consultant engineer would be out on site monitoring the work, making sure it's done as indicated in the bid specifications.
What's the name of that company?
FOF.
Yeah, I see it over here, yeah, okay.
So what we need is, we need a motion to approve and to authorize the town administrator to sign the contracts.
Motion to approve and sign the contract.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Tattelbaum. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
that an aye or a
Oh,
nay?
it's an aye for approval.
Okay, thank you.
Innovation.
I'd like to,
Footnote on
I'd
that.
like to be sure that we set up a future meeting, and if it means all those boards in this room at one time, as soon as we can do it, whatever makes sense, it would be a positive thing to do early
What
on.
purpose, Mr. Tattlebaum?
I'm sorry?
For what purpose?
The entire design of the whole master plan of that entire area?
Well, the master plan is still being worked on, so until the master plan is completed, you know,
Well,
what's the point of meeting if we don't have a master plan to review?
well, one of the ways that you create a plan is to talk about it first, and then go back and create it. and
But
then
they
come
are
back.
talking about it. So they're
Who's-
developing the plan.
Is the planning board involved?
I can add, so Chris is in the process of procuring the firm to do the feasibility study. Once that's done, he'll be before the board again to present that contract. And then the board can make all the requirements, set up a committee that would, work together with the chosen firm and Chris and the harbor master, all the entities involved. You could form a committee
Great.
to, be on the feasibility study. That way you can cover all the bases.
Great, I'm not abdicating when we do it, whatever the appropriate time is, so that we get it early on, whatever that is. Sounds like that would be a good time to do it.
Well, once we have the firm available to do it, then that'll be the time to do it.
And let me just add, Sean, at the end, that I think this is going to be a great project. Don't get me wrong. Misconstrue what I'm basically saying. I think it's going to be great for the town. I just want to make sure that it's done
I told you so, guys.
at the best and highest level.
Certainly.
So,
And just one last point is, so I've met with both our waterways and the Board of Parks and Recreation about the draft outline for that master plan, and there is consensus on the rough outline. I've had a conversation with Christine about really breaking that a little bit further and making sure that it's inclusive of anything that planning would want, and obviously having be part of the process going forward. So once we have that really built out scope of work, I plan on going around to each of those different boards and just having one final pass before anything goes out formally. But again, it's something
Including
that we,
this board.
Certainly. It's something that, the goal is to build consensus and try and identify issues, and again, just get everyone on the same playbook. So definitely committed to doing that.
We've spoken several times about the management of the Apponeganset Beach and the rain, or rather the wind and waves that have come up. And so certainly this master plan is going to address how we're going to resolve the ebbing away of the beach and that area. So I have a list of departments here.
yeah, and a project like this size, in my opinion, which, people will differ, but I don't see any difference between public and private, and how the private sector is treated on certain projects and how the public sector is treated. I think the town should go through just as the same process as a private developer would when they present a plan for the town. I just, and sometimes you run into trouble when that process isn't followed for all. So I've got some reservations, but Roger's got a pretty good bead on this thing, and I know they're very passionate about it, and I wish them all the success in the world. I hope it really generates quite a bit of activity down there.
I think in the manner, the way Mr. Vitale is going to be handling this, I think is appropriate. So, all right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, next item on the agenda, we have the police chief contract ratification.
Yes, there's a contract for the police chief, Brian Levesque, for starting in FY '25, which is July 1st, and going for 3 years inclusive. It's a continuation of his previous contract.
Any questions on the contract from the board? It's been signed by the chief, just needs our signatures. Do I have a motion to approve the contract?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Mr. O'Neill, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None unanimous. Okay, we'll have to sit around for signatures. Next, we have the deputy police chiefs. 2 contract ratification.
Yes, we have Deputy Chief Tony Vincent and Deputy Chief Victor Morency. The same, starting FY '25 for 3 years inclusive, a continuation of their previous contracts. So the leadership at the police department will be solidly in place for the next 3 years.
Okay, both contracts have been signed by each individual.
Correct.
Any questions on either contract from the board? Do I have a motion to approve both
Motion
contracts?
to approve Deputy Chief Vincent and Deputy Chief Morency.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Neill. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Okay. We're just doing a lot of contracting here. Next is the harbor master.
We're skipping.
We're skipping the harbor master, okay. Skippy. All right, that's right. That's right. We're skipping that for now because we want to get language. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have the town administrator search. Mr. Mickelson, I know you wanted to speak on this.
I'm trying to sign this, so I'll have to do that after the... So,
Give it to Ms. Tettelbaum.
we are going to work out a co-leadership of our town administrator job at the present. And their priorities will be set. We'll have meetings, particularly on who will do what and where and when. And that's what we'll be going over shortly. But in order to, in my opinion, at some point, I thought that maybe this hiring a firm to find a town administrator, a new town administrator, should I say, I thought maybe we could put it on hold. I honestly, speaking with Mr. Cressman, speaking with our present town administrator, they both feel that our best interest would be to move forward quickly and find, hire a company, whichever of the two firms, speak with Mr. Cressman and see how he feels about, the process. But my personal opinion is to hire a firm, whichever of the two, they're close. One is 113, one is 114.
No, 13,000, 14,000.
Yeah, whatever.
Not
Yeah,
113, not
sorry,
114.
13 and 14,000. So they're both going to come up with the same names, in my opinion. There's not a lot of, from what people are telling me, and educated people that have the know, there are only 3 or 4 people out there that might be able to handle this job. I think there are more than that. I think this town of Dartmouth it would be a desirable position for quite a few people that actually town administrators somewhere else. And I think we'll be pleasantly surprised that we'll have more people than 3 or 4, and hopefully 4 or 5 qualified that we can finally pick one. But that's where we are today as far as I'm concerned. I do want to keep Mr. Cressman involved in this, and he's assured me that he'd give of his time. When he can come down and spend a couple of days, and we'll go over it. But in no way will he be involved in the town administrator's job. That'll be the 2 gentlemen that we've talked about previously. So, it's set. I think this, in my opinion, again, I think we should move forward quickly and hire a company and get this process going.
Okay, so the question that I have, under the procurement, we have 2 proposals. Do we need a third?
I think one of your proposals is under the state contract. I don't know if they both are.
Well, one's 13,000, the other one's 14,000. What's the state contract?
Well, I think the Collins Center, the state contract means you do not have to do procurement. The state's done the procurement. I think the Collins Center is listed under that. I'm not sure about the other entity. They may be. I'm not. We'd have to look. But in either case, if you got a third proposal, then you could pick from the state.
Okay, I don't know if I can find a third.
Well, Mr. Cressman may present it.
Well, he might be the third person, Mr. Cressman.
Well, then I guess I'll give Mr. Cressman a call, and I'll see if he's interested in submitting a proposal for the search. And then if he is, then we'll have 3. Then we can go from there. If not, in the meantime, depending upon the conversation with him, I'll see if I can bang the MMA, and see what other organizations. I know there's a few of them, but I just can't put my finger on them right now. All I do is just go through the job descriptions and take a look at, who's there. That's where I found Collins Center, and that's where I found Paradigm. So,
Knowing the calendar of meetings set, would June 17th be too soon to have the
I'll try to get
folks that get the
David will-
proposals in?
I'll try to get the proposals for the June 3rd meeting.
I can tell you that Dave's on vacation. He will be available to us the first full week of June.
Well, I'm actually looking for a proposal, so David doesn't have to be.
Right.
So we can take a look at the proposals from there and then go from there, how we want to handle it.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Okay, from the town administrator search to the current town administrator update.
All right, not much,
What a
but
segue.
we're preparing for town meeting, and we're working with DCTV and our communications coordinator, Magnolia McComish, on a town meeting video. We'll have all the articles. She's been coordinating with different departments to explain their articles, so I think the video update for the town meeting reps is going to be quite informative this year. I've been working with Gary Carrero and Chris Vitale on the town administrator transition, getting that in place. We received another opioid settlement payment of $17,182 last week.
Nice.
Congratulations to our town clerk, Sarah Haskell-Aruda, for being certified as a certified Massachusetts municipal clerk. It's quite a process. I think the information's under info in your packet. Quite an accomplishment for Sarah, and a testament to her hard work and dedication to her clerk's office, so that's great. And then here in Town Hall, we've started an update to the break room here. As you know, Denise Bosang and Melissa Jerome from our HR department were able to get a grant from Maya, which is going to help to install new cabinets, appliances, carpeting, painting, et cetera. So that started this week and should be done in the next few weeks. That's all I have.
Sorely needed.
Yes.
Put BJ as a judge.
Put some BJ's beer and wine in there, yeah.
Then under old business.
Yes, old business, please.
West
Thank you.
Corner, no new updates. Same with Lake Nokichoke and municipal broadband and Title V, Mass DEP. No new updates.
All right, just out of curiosity, did anybody send in a letter of intent for the municipal broadband?
I'll go check.
Yeah, if you can check. I think it was from a recommendation from Chris Oliver. I remember seeing some email like that. I'm just not sure.
I will look.
Yeah, if that's the case, then let's put it on for the.
We generally, when we
Right.
get those in, we put them on, so I'll
Yeah,
check that.
because I know they're chomping at the bit, so. At least that's what Mr. Chase just told me.
Okay.
So we can blame Peter. All right, I signed that one, and I signed this one. All right, I think we're all set, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, minutes of April 29th. Board's pleasure.
Except for the file.
Awkward silence. Motion made by Mr. O'Neill. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none unanimous. Select Board updates, anybody? Mr. Tattlebaum, anything?
I just want to say, coincidental with Mr. McGinnis mentioning more opioid money, we meet again tomorrow, and it's a very complex issue. There's a huge need. There's a lot of money involved, and I think that we're trying to get a handle on that and get moving, because it's time that we spend that money and spend it wisely, and I think that's the goal. And hopefully our meeting tomorrow will bear some food for us and move on forward.
What do you think the total is, David?
That we've received.
Yeah.
Right now, there's, I
Over
think it's $500,000.
Half?
I think it's closer to 300,000.
Yeah.
But Total right now that we received.
that we've received so far, 300,000.
But, well, committed, but there's, I mean, that's what we have in-house.
Right, over the next 15 years, and I think we're slated to receive maybe, oh man, don't quote me, in the millions.
Yeah.
Like, I think between 2 and 5, I'll say that.
It's a big ballpark.
I know,
It is.
I'll look it
Well-
up. If you want to wait a minute, I have it.
But it's spread out, so
Yeah,
it's
it's
short
spread
money,
out, yeah.
unfortunately, each year, so.
Yes.
Yeah, so in other words, pharmaceuticals have to
I think that,
come up with a
I
new
think
drug
that
to charge outrageous
my own
prices.
personal opinion is that we need to try hard to spend money on boots-on-the-ground programs that can really be a benefit as opposed to some kind of administration, but that's just my own personal opinion. But it's not easy to do because you got to find the right people to pull that off and get it done and done right. So we're trying to do the right thing, but get some
we'll-
service to people who can use it.
Right, and we'll hear tomorrow that some things that we thought we had in place are not going to be in place, so
It's a
it's a slow
complex issue.
process.
Mr. Mickelson, you have anything?
I'm all set, thanks.
Mr. O'Neill, you have anything?
I've got a bunch of stuff, but not for tonight. No, I'm good.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes, thank you. I'll speak quickly. I just want folks to know, if they're interested, it's spring concert season. So starting tonight, the DMS band was performing, so that's going to be also filmed. Tomorrow night, May 21st, is the Dartmouth High School Orchestra. The 22nd is the DHS band. The 23rd is the DMS Orchestra. That will be at the middle school.
I'll be there.
The 28th will be the chorus at the middle school, DMS chorus. June 4th will be the Potter School concert at DMS. June 5th will be the DeMello concert at DMS, and June 6th, the Quinn concert at DMS. And again, you can certainly attend those, and they will be taped, and you can watch them all summer long. Also, I just want to say we are approaching graduation season. So we want to not only wish our graduates, our Dartmouth graduates well, but we also want to remind them to make good choices. So from Dartmouth High School, they're kicking off their senior award and scholarship night this Thursday, the 23rd. The 29th, Wednesday the 29th, a few years ago, they started doing a senior stroll. So after they have graduation practice, the seniors board buses and head off to the elementary schools and the middle school to take a walk through the halls and visit their old stomping grounds, which is a lot of fun. And then they have the prom on Thursday the 30th, with graduation on Sunday, June 2nd.
Wow, that's early.
It is very early. New Bedford Vokes graduation will be June 7th, and their prom is May 23rd this week. At Bristol Aggie, the graduation is May 30th, and they have an award ceremony May 23rd. Their senior dance already occurred. And I know we have students at all of those, and we help fund all of those three schools. I know we also have students who attend Bishop Stang and other places, and the message is the same to them. Congratulations on your hard work, but please make good choices in this next few weeks, and of course the rest of your life, but in the next few weeks, be very, very cautious. And let's have lots of celebrations of life.
Yep. And I know with all the music stuff, I know Somerset used to call itself Music Town, but, you know, something, set aside Somerset.
Yes, and I have one more thing. Those of us that follow the Celtics, they face the Pacers. There is a young man on the Pacers, number 26, Ben Shepherd, whose grandparents live in New Bedford, and I believe the grandfather is a former Dartmouth High School student, a graduate of Dartmouth High. I'm going to look into that, but while we want to wish the Celtics well, I also want to wish Ben Shepherd, number 26 on the Pacers, well.
Wish
We'll have
him
to
well,
watch
but
this
not
guy.
too much well.
Well, you know, within reason.
For some
he can
reason-
have a good game.
For some reason, I thought the Knicks won. I didn't know the Pacers won. All right,
Not this year.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
the
really.
Pacers won.
okay. So I have nothing. So the next mental health crisis resource, there is a mental health crisis resource. I know this is Mental Health Crisis Month. So if you have anything, we do have some information here. to help you out. Just contact our office, and we'll be more than happy to give you all the information. There's 6 or 7 different contacts here.
I think Magnolia's going to be putting this out,
Okay, good.
this information.
Okay. So anybody has anything else? Being none, is there a motion? Motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by
Mrs. Brooks.
Mrs. Brooks. On the motion, any questions? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, none unanimous. See you June 3rd.